Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So, with the MCS now over, and because I was mainly on MathMech for the MCS there, I was mainly focusing on it, I can finally come back to my other pet deck of Spright. So, it's been a long time. I mean, it's only been about a month, but for me, that's a long time since I've actually played Pure Spright, and I was definitely really eager to come back to it. So, as you can see, we are still on the Nimble package and the Melffy package. Oh, by the way, fun fact, I actually played this deck and got these games that we're going to see from a viewer duel stream that we had recently, yesterday at the time of recording this. That VOD has been saved, and that one will be going to my second YouTube channel, which is going to be linked in the description below. If you're interested in checking out some of those stream VODs, I've already got, I think by now, a couple, not just one, but a couple of Master Duel stream VODs on there. I'm also uploading some VODs from Final Fantasy Friday, and I'll also be uploading gameplay of other games, such as the blind playthrough of the Pokemon TCG Game Boy game that I'm currently doing on that other channel. Hexlex Plays. It's going to be linked in the description below. But yeah, had a ton of fun playing this. We got a lot of really bricky hands, which I'm wondering might be a result of me not playing enough level 2s. It's funny how this is quote-unquote pure Spright. But you really got to throw a lot of quotes around pure because there's a lot of non-Spright monsters in this deck. Funnily enough, in chat, people were saying 2-axis. People were calling it 2-axis. And I think that might actually be a bit more apt of a name for the deck. So, I just like, it's so sad to see pure Spright in its current state. It's just in shambles. Swap Frog at 1, Nimble Beaver at 1, Jet at 1, Blue at 2. Like, especially Blue being at 2 is so rough, not only for the pure build, but also for, like, decks that use Spright as an engine. I said this on stream, and I'll definitely say it here. I think I've even said it in other Spright videos on the channel. Like, I would gladly give up a starter for a third Blue. I really think Spright is in such a state that we could just have a third Blue back and not give up anything, and that would be fine. But if I have to, I would give up one of the 2 starters just to have a third Blue. In pure Spright, you definitely want to see the starter more, so that might not make a lot of sense, but for Spright variants, having the Blue in hand can often be more helpful there. But yeah, so this list probably looks pretty weird because, again, we're trying to play a pure Spright strategy with the deck just currently in shambles right now. Again, not even the Spright cards themselves, but also the Nimble Beaver and Swap. Nimble Beaver to 1, like, especially as we've seen now as the meta has panned out, this was so completely unnecessary. This, to me, was like exactly like the Runic Fountain. Not exactly, but this was similar to the Runic Fountain to 1 hit, where the Nimble Beaver to 1 hit was so blatantly kind of being like, hey, play something else, please. Buy a new deck. Don't play this old one anymore. With, like, the fact that this limit hurt pure Spright and Tri-Spright, but still kept the door open for future Spright variants like Gishki, you know? It's like, it was just so blatantly a message from Konami to move on from your old deck and buy a new one, please. So it's like, meh, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to say that we definitely did not get the best hands when playtesting against viewers there. Now, to be fair, we also probably did, like, maybe no more than 15 duels, and in order to really get a sense of how well a deck opens, I think you need to play, like, I would honestly say your testing should be at, like, bare minimum 50 games, but that's just me personally. And that's to get a feel of how well the deck will consistently open, because it's really easy to play 5 games where you get 5 bad hands, and like that might actually be an indicative, an indicator more of you know, less than stellar deck building. But 5 games is still too small of a sample size, which is something I emphasize a lot, right? You have to have an appropriate sample size. I mean, really no individual person is going to have an appropriate sample size to fully suss out all the data you would need for optimal deck building. That's why tools like Master Duel Meta Online are so important. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. Let's talk about Spright some more. This deck is, in theory, still not bad for not only its ability to OTK with stuff like Gamma Burst, as well as the Shadow Mosquito, but it can also run a lot of disruption, namely run like just the Drolls, you know, as well as triple attacks. Pretty standard stuff as far as like extra disruption goes. And by extra I mean beyond stuff like, you know, Sea, Ash Blossom, Imperm, Called by Crossout, the usuals, the Master Duel attacks, right? Like I said, here we are just using Drolls and triple techs, which are rather run-of-the-mill for this meta, but they're run-of-the-mill because they're both very, very good. So it's like, you know, it might not be the, like, weirdest tech you've ever seen, but I think it is still very good. Kashtira Fenrir, I still highly recommend in pure Spright variants because it, plus any level 2 monster, will allow you to link into Sprind, which will allow you to send the Angler and summon 2 Sunfish, and then boom, you have full Spright plays after that. Speaking of the Nimble Sunfish, one thing I noticed when I was looking over a pure Spright list from the Duelist Cup is that they were all on a Nimble package, but they were on Nimble Manta, which I'm going to pull that one up for those who aren't familiar with the effect, and maybe somebody in the comments can tell me, because I feel like at this point I must be missing something, because I see these people on Nimble Manta, and I've had other people recommend Nimble Manta, and I can't figure out why. Like, this card only procs from being destroyed by a card effect, and we don't play anything that destroys our own cards, nor do I think that the opponent is going to value this as a target to destroy with a card effect. Nimble Sunfish, on the other hand, procs from being destroyed by battle, which will enable another OTK line, potentially with the Shadow Mosquito. In fact, if you have the Shadow Mosquito plus 1 Nimble Sunfish in attack mode and the others are all still in the deck, then as long as your opponent has a monster with at least, I think, 450 or 2,500 attacks, somewhere in that neighborhood, that's an OTK right there. So, again, I don't get it, and this isn't me being like, I don't get it, why would you ever play Nimble Manta? I'm genuinely feeling like I'm missing something, so if I am, please let me know. I implore you to let me know in the comments why people would be playing Nimble Manta over Nimble Sunfish. It personally, to me, does not make a lot of sense, but again, I'm more than open to the fact that I could just be missing something here. For the extra deck, we're not really doing anything too crazy or out there. One card I did consider crafting for the extra deck, if I could spell it correctly, there we go, is Topologic Trisbania. I like the idea of playing this a lot more than playing Nightmare Unicorn. I think that this card overall just represents, like, more of a threat. Like, in this meta, there's a good amount of back rows running around, so this will be live a lot of the time. And beyond that, what really, I think, makes this card potentially better than Nightmare Unicorn in pure Spright exactly, is that pure Spright variants tend to not have very many cards left over in hand at the end of their combo, and the ones that you do have left over in hand are probably going to be stuff like Maxx and Ash Blossom that you don't want to just discard for Nightmare Unicorn. So I think having a Link 3 to be able to go into off of the IP, if you want to make a Link 3 that's not Nightmare Unicorn, is ideal. But I just have the Avramax and Goddess. I don't really find myself needing much more beyond that with IP in this particular deck, so... and then we're also playing the Merry Melffys because we are still on the Melffy package. I like the Melffy package quite a bit. And I think if you are going to play the Melffy line, you should just play the Merry Melffys because having the option to either set up an Omni Negate or a bounce is very, very powerful. And there are some situations where you won't be able to set up the Herald in time for it to be useful. But by that point, your opponent's probably going to have a monster that you want to bounce, and then you can just Merry Melffys it. So, alright, that's about all I've got for the list here. Yeah, it's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down card by card, and then we'll see some games. So we're on 2 Droll and Lockbird, 1 Dupe Frog, 1 Swap Frog, 1 Ronintoadin, 3 Nimble Sunfish, 3 Maxx, 3 Nimble Angler, 1 Nimble Beaver, 1 Melffy Catty, 2 Spright Blue, 1 Spright Jet, 2 Spright Red, 2 Spright Carrot, 1 Melffy Pinny, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Kashtira Fenrir, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Gamma Burst, 1 Spright Smashers, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and that will do it for our main deck. For the extra deck, we are on 1 Herald of the Arclight, 1 Merry Melffys, 1 Melffy of the Forest, 1 Onibimaru Soul Sweeper, 2 Gigatic Spright, 1 number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito, 1 Downerd Magician, 1 Divine Arsenal, AA-ZEUS Sky Thunder, 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Spright Elf, 1 Spright Sprind, 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax, and then finally 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. That's going to do it for our list. Let's go ahead and see these games. Okay, our first game is going to be against Oni Girly. Oni is a good friend of the stream, a good friend in general, honestly, very cool person, who came by with Exosister. on the Utopia package as well. For those who are unaware, by the way, the reason that we can see Oni's hand as well as the other games is, as I mentioned in the profile, these games were done in a duel room because these were viewer duels. So Oni's going to be taking the first turn here, has a phenomenal opening hand, a lot of live stuff as well as Sea and Ash Blossom. We have an Ash Blossom ourselves as well as triple text. We have a couple of stuff for going second here. The Gam Burst also, of course, very helpful in going second for OTKing. And then we also have a 2 and a Jet, so cannot complain at all about a hand like this. Oni's going to lead with ZS Ascended Sage, special summoning it because they control no cards. And then after that, we're going to use the Zexal Construction. And I'm going to use the Ash Blossom in response to this. Now, if I had known that Oni was on Exosister, funnily enough, I might not have used the Ash Blossom here and might have waited for an Exosister card. But not having that knowledge actually kind of benefited me here because then I was able to cut off the Utopic plays, which it looks like Oni is mainly on Utopic cards in hand here. We're still going for the Astraltopia, sending the Sea to get the Xyz Change Tactics. The Xyz Change Tactics coming down here. And indeed, because there are no Exo cards in Oni's hand, they're going to end up going for the Utopic line that they have here. So Utopia is coming down. We're paying 500 to draw a card here off of the Xyz Change Tactics. Looks like that's going to get the... Oh no, the draw is going to get the Exosister, that's right. It was the Zexal Sage Ascended effect, applying to the Utopia monster that allowed them to add the Hyper Rank Up Magic Utopia Force here. So, another draw, Exosister Stella, royal copy of it too, wow, very pretty. And I think Oni still has a normal summon here, right? No, okay, we don't, never mind. That's right, we had to use it on the Astraltopia. Okay, so now we're pulling out the number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. Hyper Rank Up Magic's going to attach to that. And then during my draw phase, I believe number 99 is going to end up pulling out the number 38 from the deck. So we are going to have to contend with not only a monster negate, but also a spell negate. So just making sure that we're mindful of that. So we'll normal the Angler, special the Red, special the Jet. Jet's going to add starter here. I'm going to go ahead and fire off the starter. Oni's got the Ash Blossom in response to that, though. I'm not going to use the red here, because we can definitely still make all of our plays without the starter. It's just a little bit... Like, it would have been easier with the starter, but we can still do everything we need to here. I'm going to begin with the Sprind here. I just want to make sure that this resolves mostly, but I'm fairly confident it will, especially now that the Ash Blossom has been used. That's also one of the reasons I wanted to use starter there. It might have looked a little bit weird, but I didn't want either the Sprind or the Gigantic to eat the Ash Blossom. I think I value those effects a little bit more highly. So, the other thing that I have to be mindful here is the number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. As I mentioned, this does have the ability to negate monster effects, and although I'm fine with starter getting negated, I can't have both starter and a Gigantic get negated. It is mainly the Gigantic that I want to resolve here. So I'm going to overlay my other level 2 monsters for the Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. And we're pretty much forcing the number 90 here with the Onibimaru, right? It's a very use it or lose it moment. Of course, this will end up getting negated, but that's completely fine. Again, I planned for this. So we're going to use a Gigantic. I can even detach from the Onibimaru, which is cute. That'll pull out the Spright Blue. Blue's going to go for the Carrot. And then we'll use the triple tack. I'm going to use that to force the Hope Harbinger here, because I do want to end up ultimately resolving the Gamma Burst. But first I'm going to overlay for the... Oh, for the Shadow Mosquito. That's right, because I realized, actually, I think at about this point that, like, not only do I have the Gamma Burst, like, I was thinking, like, okay, I'll use Gamma Burst and maybe I'll try to just, like, battle over their board. But then I was like, wait a second. We have an OTK line here with the Shadow Mosquito, because Oni's at 6,500 life points, and I'm going to start by using the Shadow Mosquito to attack the Hope Harbinger. One other thing to be mindful of is Hope Harbinger's quote-unquote secret effects, which are actually just the effects that aren't the first one in the paragraph here, but if I attack a different monster, Hope Harbinger can redirect the attack towards itself. And also, if I destroy another face-up Xyz monster in battle, Hope Harbinger will gain that monster's attack points. So that is going to dictate the order in which I want to attack. Also, you might have noticed that I put the Shadow Mosquito counter on the number 99 and not either of the other monsters. Because again, I know Hope Harbinger can redirect attacks towards itself. So if I put the Shadow Mosquito counter on it and then attack with Gigantic, well, then I destroy that monster in battle, and then I won't be able to use the Shadow Mosquito effect anymore because there will no longer be a hallucination counter on the field. So I am putting it specifically on the number 99 for that reason. Alright, we get to use the hallucination counter to burn. I'll use the Gamma Burst as well. And oh yeah, the number 99 here was potentially threatening to change the attack of my monster to 0, but I got scared for a second because I thought they were changing, where is it here? I thought they were changing their own monster's attack to 0, and I was like, oh no, I can't OTK, but no. It's only the opponent's monster, and even if it had resolved, the hallucination counter, well, Shadow Mosquito negates monsters, the effects of monsters with hallucination counter. Oh my god, if I can talk. Yeah, the Onibimaru still, even if it had had its attack points dropped to 0, would still have been able to swing in and not lethal me, which would have lethaled Oni there. So anyway, whew, that was quite a way to find lethal there. We kind of combined both of our OTK lines there, both the Gamma Burst and the Shadow Mosquito, to kind of pull that one out. So thank you for stopping by, Oni. Thanks for the duels to everyone, of course, who stopped by, but I'll also go ahead and thank people who are featured in this video as well. But let's go and see our next duel here. Alright, our next game is going to be against Kenny. Kenny's always playing cool decks and always commenting on the channel and in the Discord. Love to have you around, Kenny. We're going to be going first against his Sword Soul deck. You might not guess it's a Sword Soul deck from an opening hand like this, but Kenny is in fact going to be on Sword Soul. So I'll lead with Fenrir, add Fenrir. Kenny's going to Droll me afterward. The fun thing about Pure Spright, though, is that Droll, while annoying, definitely does not stop us like it does pretty much every other deck that's meta-relevant in this format. Well, yes, it does stop Spright Blue and Jet, as well as Melffy of the Forest. Those are the only 3 things, and it's like, whatever. Those are fine. It's not that big of a deal. We can certainly, with a hand like this, make plays regardless, so... Alright, Gigantic Spright is coming down. I'm going to use a Gigantic here, or try to, but Kenny's got an Imperm for us, so not going to be able to get the summon there. But I think to myself, okay, this is fine. We still have the Fenrir and the Gigantic. I can actually link those off for the Elf. We'll go ahead and use the Elf effect here to bring back the Spright Red. Kenny's got a Magnum Hut for the Blue, which thankfully I didn't target that, although I was thinking about bringing that back on the next turn for a search, but yeah, I'm just gonna have to pass here. And the funny thing here is, too, like, even if I had gone into Sprind, which I could have instead of Elf, but even if I had tried to go into Sprind, Kitty still would have had Ash Blossom! This just hand trap dot deck is what I thought Kenny was on, but no, as soon as we see the results of this Desires, I believe that's when we're gonna start seeing Sword Soul stuff. So I'll use the Elf to bring back the Gigantic. Kenny's got the other Maxi, of course, though. The reason that we are bringing back Gigantic is so that way Red can sack it to both negate and destroy a card, in case that ends up being relevant. Plus, it's not like we really have any better targets in the grave, or any other targets, period, really. Magnum Hut will end up battling over the Red. Kenny's gonna normal summon the Effect Veiler. And I was like, okay, going for a 7. I thought it was going to be Dawn Dragster, but it turns out to be Yazzie. So funnily enough, I still didn't assume Sword Soul at first here. I thought like we were on some kind of like a Rorodon build that just opened all hand traps. Kenny does have the Ash Blossom still here, like I pointed out for the Maxi, but... yeah, Yazzie's going to end up bringing out the Moye here, revealing Taya, and revealing that they are in fact on Sword Soul. I'm going to go ahead and chain the Melffy Catty here. I figured it was worth it to give them 2 more draws to potentially stop their plays here. But unfortunately, you know, it's funny, I was thinking to myself, as long as I don't give them a long yawn draw, this should be the end of their turn, and then I can maybe come back. But look what literally the last draw was. It was the long yawn. So I was going to pitch the Taya, which is going to summon the Sword Soul token, and Kenny will in fact be able to continue plays here. The Bashia, very pretty Whirl one, by the way, is ultimately going to end up bouncing the Gigantic here, leaving only the Merry Melffys on my field now. Bashia sacking itself to bring back the Taya. Taya can now activate, banishing said Bashia to make another Sword Soul token, and looks like now we're going to end up sinking for a 10. That 10 is going to be Spright Blue, it's Baron de Fleur. That will ultimately end up popping my Merry Melffys, and as you can see, between the Baron, the Veiler, the Callbite, and the Sword Soul Blackout, I don't really have much of a chance here. I mean, I'll try, but yeah, here comes the Blackout to pop all my cards, and then I'll just end up passing back over to Kenny here. So, yeah, Kenny actually in the Discord talked about their build a little bit afterward. Very hand trap heavy, but as you can see, that definitely was not an issue for a game like this. And even if Kenny had gone first, they did still open the Desires, so definitely still a lot of chances to have the plays there, even if, you know, they had to go first with their quote-unquote going second hand. It could have very easily not been just a going second hand here, so. Alright, looks like Bashia is getting rid of the call by, so we're chaining it on the Elf, which is a good call. If I somehow, some way were to have another turn, then Elf would be the most opt way for me to begin my comeback here, but that is definitely not happening in this case. Yeah, we're going to drop the Dragite, and Kenny now definitely has more than enough damage on board to finish us off. We're going to go for a cute Excavate here first, looks like. Okay, here's the battle phase, yep. And even if I had been at 8k, even if we hadn't gotten into Long Yon Burn, that still would have been enough damage to OTK me. So, GG's Kenny, thank you again alongside everybody else who stopped by. Let's go ahead and see our next game here. Okay, our next duel is going to be against Vivo. Vivo brought a Chaos deck, which is pretty cool. I think the idea of that Chaos deck is pretty nifty. It's just too bad the Chaos Witch is a UR. Otherwise, I'd go ahead and try it out, but... So yeah, this hand might look a little bit wonky, but as long as we open a 2 and a Spright, we have pretty much a full combo. I mean, that is like the thing about pure Spright, right? Like, I think a lot of people gave up on pure Spright simply because there's so little of what engines the deck used to use left. However, the thing about pure Spright, and the thing that has always been true about pure Spright, and the thing that I have said about pure Spright in the past, is that the only thing the deck needs in order to have a full combo is literally any monster plus any level 2 monster on the field. If you can get those two very generic requirements on the board, you have the ability to make a full combo line. So, it's again one of the reasons I like Fenrir. It's a free special summon, which then you can just normal summon anything, like even a Nimble Sunfish, right? And link those into Sprind and send an Angler for 2 Sunfish and have a full board. So, we're definitely doing that here, by the way, sending the Angler for the Sunfish, and now I will overlay the 2 Sunfish into the Melffy of the Forest. You want to overlay into the Melffy of the Forest, by the way, before going into IP, because a decent amount of the time you will end up using the Melffy of the Forest as a material. Here, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually not going into IP, because I would rather end on the Sprind here and have the ability to bounce. Plus, I can also then use the Elf to bring back Carrot. It's like, that's the other thing about pure Spright as well, is that sometimes you gotta kind of pick and choose what kind of disruption you want to end on. And here again, I just wanted to end on the bounce, plus the negates, plus the Melffy. So, I was actually a little bit scared when I saw this droplet, until I kind of thought about it, and I was like, you know, droplet with 3 cards in hand when I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that interact is actually 100% fine. Plus here it looks like droplet is only going to be used to send 1 card anyway, the Chaos Witch to negate the Spright Red. So, Chaos Witch getting banished for the, not Shell of Chaos, it's the Core of Chaos, that one. I'll use this opportunity to use my Melffy Catty effect, but I'm not going to necessarily activate Penny right off the bat. Alright, the Chaos Mirage Dragon is coming down, bringing back the Chaos Witch. And here I elected to use the Sprind effects, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know, if my opponent is locked into only Synchro Summoning Light or Dark monsters, and their board is all tuners and 1 non-tuner, ... you can kind of figure, like, oh, it's pretty good to just bounce the 1 non-tuner, and then that'll probably be the end of Vivo's plays there. They did attempt to go into the battle phase, I imagine, to try to battle over either Sprind or Elf, but we're definitely just going to go ahead and save those with the Merry Melffys here. Merry Melffys will bounce the Chaos and Barrage Dragon, and then, yeah, that'll ultimately end up being the end of Evo's turn. We even already have the Gamma Burst, but with 3 defense mode monsters, we do still need to math it out a little bit here, right? I'm gonna summon the 3200 Gigantic, gonna bring back the Jet with Elf, overlay the Red and the Jet to go for the Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. I love this card. I definitely consider this card like a staple in main Spright extra decks because the spot removal is so handy. So handy for so many different things. Oh, here I misplayed. Oh my god. I misplayed horribly and almost cost myself the game because I always do that with Gamma Burst. I always forget that it boosts your opponent's level 2 and ranking Link 2 monsters as well. So don't be like me, read your cards. Someone actually made a really funny comment in chat that was like, it makes sense you wouldn't know what Gamma Burst does. It isn't a level 2 monster after all. So that was good, that was good. We got one more game to check out. Let's go straight into that here. And our final game for this video is going to be against Boz. Boz was on Dragon Link for this duel, so I remember this being a really good back and forth. I also remember wanting to see this duel again because I remember thinking that there might have been a chance for you to have a lethal, but I'm trying to remember how that would have been the case, so. Alright, looks like we're going to grab the Magnum Hut here. Magnum Hut's going to summon itself, banishing the Lubellion, but yeah, we don't have any other plays, it looks like, here. Because our hand is, like, it's kind of awkward, because we just can't get a Dark Monster in the graveyard for the Wyver Burster, but anyway, I'm going to start here with the Swap Frog, special the Spright Blue. Ash Blossom's going to come down. You'll notice I don't use the Call By here, I actually just let it resolve, because I don't need the Spright Blue in order to be able to find plays here. Okay, here's the Elf, Elf F. Before I actually have a chance to activate it, they drew a Swarm. So I'll chain the Elf, but then they're going to chain Baldrake on the same target. Which makes sense why they did it that way. At first I thought it was a misplay, but it actually was to ensure it looks like that the Baldrake resolved. The Baldrake is going to make things really awkward moving forward here. But I'm going to bring back the Ronin and then go for the Sprind. I don't care if they banish the Sprind because they won't negate it. I just need to send this Angler and get a couple more bodies on the board. Alright, we're going for the Gigantic here. I wondered if I actually... Well, because here's the thing. I'm still trying to find lethal at this point. Okay, we're going to use the Smashers to banish the Gigantic and the Baldrake. Yep. Okay, so now... But here's the thing. I don't have the ability... Well, I can actually search the... Yeah, because here's the Jet. And I ultimately ended up using the Jet for the starter here. My first thought was like, oh, I can Jet for Gamma Burst, but I only have 2 bodies on the board, and I have 4,500 damage. And Gamma Burst is another 2,800 because it's 1,400 boosts per monster. 45 plus 28 is 73, would leave me still 700 points short, right? Now, I could have potentially used the Elf. What did I bring back with Elf, actually? Oh, I brought back the blue, that's right. Yeah, and then I wasn't able to bring back the swap. Actually, I didn't summon swap. Wait, hang on, let me see something real quick. Linked for blue. They activated Druid Swarm. I chained Elf, target blue. Then they Baldraked. Ah, I see. And that got me to bring back something other than Swap Frog. Because if I had brought back Swap Frog, I could have sent Dupe, which would have given me another Ronintoadin summon in attack mode, and that would have been enough for lethal. But the problem is then, if I had done it that way, there would still be a Druid Swarm on the field. Because I didn't bring back Swap because I was busy bringing back the blue to prevent the Druid Swarm here. So, I ultimately decided to just grab Carrot instead. And then, yeah, we link off for the... Oh, no, we're linking off for the Melffy. I thought we're... Oh, no, we're overlaying for Melffy. Right, because we can do this, get Catty, and then we can link for Elf. Right. And we've already used Elf this turn, but we can still use it on the next turn to try to bring back like a red or something. And I guess hoping that maybe Catty plus Callby will be enough in the meantime. Okay. That quick launch was such a good top deck. That was a really good top deck, but... Oh, that's right. I didn't have red in my yard because it was banished. I made that misplay, actually, during the actual game itself, too. I thought I had Spright Red in the graveyard, but I didn't. So, yeah, now I have to bring back Carrot instead. Otherwise, I would have gotten red instead of Carrot off of the starter there. But I thought I was setting both up in the yard. Oh, that's right. Now I'm remembering. Okay, so I don't think there was actually a way for me to be able to find lethal there. Because again, even if I had brought back Swap Frog instead of blue, that would have meant Druistorm just would have come down, and I would have had to have contested that. One, also Druistorm would have gotten sent by the Ball Drake, which would have been another send, and ultimately would have been worse for me. Okay, yeah, that was a lot of the reason why I wanted to save this replay, is I just wanted to make sure I didn't misplay. Which I don't think I did. There might still be something I'm missing, and if there is, definitely do not be shy about pointing that out in the comment section. Not that you ever are, but it's good. No, I like that. I like being able to learn and kind of grow as a result. Okay, so here, yeah, my opponent just went for the Borland. I always forget Borland has generic requirements, because I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I don't think they can have much of anything besides maybe a white woman jump scare, but no, Borland doesn't need any amount of dragons or anything like that. It's just completely generic, which is a Link 5 to be fair, but... And then, yeah, here's the Borload. So, staring down both a Borland and a Borload when you're in full top deck mode is definitely... Yeah, if this were like a regular ladder game, I would have definitely just like conceded here, but I don't like to concede during viewer duels, you know. I'll let the other person finish me off, and sure enough, we are just moving to battle phase and swinging in for lethal. So, okay, that was a good game, Boz. Again, I wanted to show it not only because it was a good back and forth duel, but I wanted to make sure I hadn't misplayed there, and I don't think that I did. But if you see a different line that I could have done, again, definitely do not be shy about putting that in the comment section below. But we're going to go ahead and stop there. Thank you very much for watching these games. Let's move now to our outro. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the very end. That means a whole lot to me, and it's also a fantastic way to support the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways besides YouTube, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you check out the description below, you'll find a bunch of links down there. One of them goes to my Patreon. You're actually seeing the names of everyone subscribed to the Patreon on the screen right now. So if you're interested in getting your name in the credits here at the end, if you want to see more daily Master Duel content, or if you're interested in one-on-one private coaching sessions, I offer all of that on Patreon. I also stream live on Twitch. Feel free to go ahead and click that link and follow and or subscribe there. I also have the Discord community, if you want to follow that link, where hundreds of duelists have already signed up. Free to join, and you can just come hang out, talk about the game, and chill in general. Final link that's going to be in the description is my Twitter. You can follow that if you want some more notifications of what's happening with the channel. So, all in all, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.